Hello everybody, Ghost Spirit TV back in action with another video for y'all here today. I've seen various other creators have been putting out videos about the passives in the game. I didn't want to do another just full explanation of like all the passives type thing. I think there's enough information out there about that, but I did want to go over what I believed were the top passive abilities in the game. Once again, you guys can fully disagree with me, that's a-okay. Just keep it respectful is all I ask, and let's have a healthy debate in the comments. That's totally fine, I invite that. And I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Consider hitting that subscribe so you don't miss any more Metalstorm content. But yeah, let's dive in to the best passive abilities in Metalstorm. So we're kicking off this list with the J20 Mighty Dragon's Target Painting passive ability. Target Painting, when it's maxed out, your allies gain a 25% missile lock range extension and a 75% missile lock time reduction against whichever target you are currently painting for them. So I know this one has been very popular. I know a lot of other people think very highly of this ability, but the reason I'm starting out with it, I think it's one of the better passive abilities, but I'm putting it the lowest on my list here out of my top 10, is very simply, this one requires you to have a competent team working around you. If you're not in communication with your team and they're not paying attention to who you're painting for them, then this ability is essentially useless. This requires teamwork, where the other passive abilities, the ones that I have personally ranked higher on my top 10 list, usually require less teamwork and are usually just, reliant upon yourself. However, the J20 ability is very good and I fully recommend it. If you have a J20, this thing is a must-have. It will help your allies out a lot, especially if you are the type of person who usually flies with a squadron or at least with a wingman or two. This can really change the game for you. Coming in the 9th position for me is the A4 Skyhawk's Terrain Confusion ability. There were a couple different ones kind of competing for this spot, but I really think the A4 belongs here. When you think about it, the A4 is an attack plane, which means it already has the cool engines trait, and it already has an advantage against being locked on by heat seekers. And then when this Terrain Confusion ability is maxed out, you are cutting the range of radar guided missiles, their lock range against you by 50%. You're cutting it directly in half, meaning long range planes like interceptors mainly, which are usually probably the planes that are most effective against attack planes, are now going to have their effectiveness cut completely in half. And that gives you a major advantage. So now you're essentially, when you think about it, stealthy to all missiles as long as you're flying close to terrain within 200 meters. And I feel like that's where most people use the Skyhawk to begin with, is within that 200 meter range. Usually people stick to cover and pop out and use those paired cannons to wipe people out. So if you do fly that way, this ability is an absolute must get as well. It makes the aircraft extremely effective. Just being, like I said, stealthy to the two main missile types in the game is going to help you out a lot, I believe. Next up on my list is the MiG-29 Fulcrum's Ghost Protocol. No, I didn't choose it just because I'm the Ghostberry and this is Ghost Protocol. I really do think this is a interesting passive ability. I think a lot of people are kind of overlooking it, if I'm being honest. I don't hear as many other people talking about it, and this is a great one. So when you get hit by a missile, you disappear from enemy radar for 6 seconds. So it this passive ability almost gives you, in a way, the special ability from the Rafale. It's interesting. But on top of that, that's not it. On top of that, you gain a 20% increase to your top speed, and they double your acceleration for a certain amount of seconds. If you have it maxed out, the acceleration is 5 seconds of double acceleration and a 20% top speed increase. And also you're immune to enemy missile locks. It doesn't just say the enemy that target you or hit you last. That's all enemy missile locks. So this thing, honestly, is a better passive ability than the Rafale's special ability is. I'm outright stating that right now. If you, once again, you do have to get hit by a missile for it to trigger. But after it triggers, it's amazing. This is probably the best, oh crap, I got hit, I need to escape and get away and get back to health special ability, perhaps in the game. This is an amazing, amazing passive. Yeah, I really can't overstate that. I don't think the doubling of the acceleration by itself is nice. The fact that you disappear from enemy radar, so they're not even, it's going to be hard for them to even kind of find you in, you know, a fast-paced dogfight. They're not going to be able to target you at all for 3 seconds. Yeah, you're going to be able to get away quite easily and quite nicely. I've seen this in action quite a few times. It is fantastic, and absolutely, you have the fulcrum. You need to get this. Get this and max that thing out. It is wonderful. So this next one's going to come as a surprise to exactly 0 people. We're talking about the Typhoon's Tenacious passive ability. Now, those of you who saw my playtest footage and saw others' playtest footage know that this ability was originally stronger and was considered quite OP by a lot of the community. I didn't think it was super OP, but I thought it was a little bit too much. They did tweak it, but it is still something I would highly, highly recommend. Still a must-have. So let's talk about Tenacious. When your health is depleted, you are granted, at maxed out, 100% temporary hit points. So somebody basically kills you with this maxed out ability, you get 100% of your health back, but then it decays at 10% per second, so essentially you have 10 seconds. So you bleed out pretty fast, which I thought was a good fix for it, so it wasn't just completely just OP, but it is still very, very good. It's still, I would almost say, you're probably not going to reach the health pickup, right? You're probably not going to be close enough for that to matter. Where this is going to come in handy for you guys, where this is going to make a difference in gameplay for you, is in both air sup, when you're trying to reach that point. Instead of dying right before you reach it, you're going to now make it to the point and be able to snag it back. Also, when you're winning head-ups, you come over some terrain and all of a sudden there's an F-16 in your face, or, you know, a JF-17 or something, and instead of dying in that gunfight, you're going to win the gunfight because you have the extra health to not get obliterated. So you're going to kill them, and then you're going to survive a little bit longer, maybe even deal damage to somebody else before you go down. And those sound both like very minor things, that air sup and team deathmatch type situations, but trust me, as you play this plane, you're going to find yourself in those situations a lot, and this is going to help you a lot in those situations. If you do happen to be close enough to health, then obviously that is the way to go, and that is going to help you even more. But when this triggers, I find myself not usually close to health, but I fly my Typhoon a lot in air sup, and that's where I find it the most helpful. So if you're an air sup aficionado like myself, this is really, really, really going to be good for you and your airplane. Now, coming up next, we have the F-15 Eagles special ability, or correction, passive ability. I keep saying special. I know I say that a lot. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, I mean passive ability, and it's something that you guys got to see me play with, I think, in the passive playtest as well. But it's called Undefeated, and this thing is fantastic. When you take a hit that should have killed you, you're only left with 1 hit point instead. Now, a lot of people probably don't think much about this. I'm going to tell you why this is absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. You can soak nuke hits with this, right? You have a J-20 up above just raining down missiles on you. Let's say you dodge the first one and you take a couple hits. That second hit usually would have killed you. Now you survive. Now that J-20's in firing range, you take out the J-20 before it takes you out. You know what I mean? maybe you end up trading, but you still take out your target. There's going to be a lot of that situation happening. That happens a lot for me, where I'm able to get the last kind of laugh, where I'll still end up going down, but that one health point, that one hit point that I'm left with on a hit that should have killed me, allows me to get out a few extra rounds of my machine gun or something, or get that last heat seeker off, and then boom, I get a kill before I go down. It's those type of moments that can change the course of a game. You guys also know there's lots of evidence on YouTube. I love my Eagle for air sup. I'm not a huge Team Deathmatch fan of the Eagle right now, but I love it in air sup. In air sup, this is going to be the difference between you getting to a point, just like we talked about with the Typhoon. This is going to be the difference between you getting to a point and you dying right before a point. And every time you grab a point, your team is scoring, right? So this is gonna be what helps you stay ahead in the air sup matches, because you're going to be able to get to points when, you know, enemy aircraft are trying to shoot you down, and it's going to make that easier. And you combine that with the Eagle's incredible speed, which is already one of the best in the game, and it's going to be a very dominant air sup type plane. And this is a passive that I think everybody should totally get. Next up, we're talking, you know, we talked about the Eagle, we're talking to heavy fighters. It's going to come to no shock to anybody. I want to talk about one of my other favorite heavy fighters, and that is the F4 Phantom with its second wind passive ability. This is kind of similar to the Foxhounds, and we'll talk about the Foxhound in a little bit, but your aircraft will slowly recover health back up to a maximum of 45%, starting a second and a half after you took your last damage. Maxed out, you recover 5% health per second. So let's say you got knocked down to only 20% health, it will get you up to 45% within 5 seconds. Well, I guess within 6.5 if you count that window at the beginning. That is quite nice when you think that the Phantom has a decent freaking health pool to start with. So it's going to make a tanky plane even tankier and hard to kill. It's going to come in handy more often than you think. And especially so, a lot of people, I think, aren't thinking about this. You pair this with the special ability of the plane, the stress turning, which eats up your health in order to achieve these incredible turn rates. And then you chewed up a lot of your health and you get down to like only 1% health, and then you can't use your special ability anymore because you've run out of health to use. This is going to help get that health back up, and then you can use your special ability again. So this is essentially going to give you an almost infinite use on your special ability if you manage it well. And I'm very excited for this. This is one of the first ones I bought. I thought it was a must-have, and if you're a Phantom pilot, get it, get it, get it. And next, we have the Su-57 FELON, another heavy fighter. I know, I love my heavy fighters, but I think I'm not being too biased here because the heavy fighters did end up with a lot of really great passive abilities that I'm so excited for. And the FELON is no exception to that. It ends up with the DIRCM, the Directional Infrared Countermeasures. Now, I really enjoy the Raptor's IR masking as well, but I think the FELON got the better passive out of the two. So I almost put the Raptor here. Overall, I still think I like the Raptor a little bit better, but the FELON got the better passive, in my opinion. And yeah, let's talk about it. Incoming heat seekers approaching from behind you or from the sides are now being countered, and so that damage is being reduced. You max this out, you cut the damage of heat seekers in half as long as they're not coming directly in your face. That is amazing. So obviously it's a stealth plane. You already have advantage against radar missiles. Now you're getting a massive advantage against heat seekers. You could only imagine, you know, how effective this is going to be. Nearly every plane in the game, not quite every, but almost all the planes in the game have heat seekers. This is going to give you a huge advantage in combat. I think the FELON is going to, it's already really high up in the meta, to be honest. It's going to just jump even higher because of this. This is this is incredible, honestly. This is a fantastic passive ability, and that's why I have it ranked so high on my list here. It's because it is something that everybody who likes to fly the FELON is going to thoroughly enjoy. I can pretty much guarantee it. You're gonna be happy with this one. So now we have the Jaguar GR3, a plane that I was, not a huge fan of before the passives came out, and then the passives, I think, really shifted a lot of things. This is one of the planes that got shifted the hardest, and it got a massive positive because in reality it got two passive abilities. Let's talk about them. Their momentum, it's called momentum shift, but the way it works is if you're over 50% health, you gained 25% increased damage. That's not quite as much as we saw in the playtest, but that's still a really good amount. You're going to win a lot of head-ups because of that. You spray your rockets and your guns at the same time, and then you're dealing 25% increased damage. You're just going to obliterate a lot of people point blank. But then, let's say you win that head-up, but now you're under 50% health. You're going to gain a 10% increased turn rate. So if you're already running Daredevil on this thing, or you're running something like Thrust Booster, you're going to get that increased turn rate, and you're going to be able to use your extra maneuverability to get out of danger, get back the health, and then once again, you'll be back over 50%, and you're going to get your damage back. So this is a fantastic passive that works in two ways. It helps you up front, and it helps you on the back end. And if you were a person who was disappointed back when the Jag got nerfed and haven't really flown it a lot since, I can see if you get this, especially if you level it up all the way to that 25% increased damage rate, I really think you're going to end up flying the Jaguar a lot more. I'm not going to say it's going to be your favorite plane, but I think you're going to enjoy it a lot more overall. You're going to find yourself winning a lot more fights in it. Now we have the MiG-31 Foxhound's True Grit passive ability. Once you maxed it out, you slowly regenerate up to 50% of the damage you took after 4 seconds if no further damage is received. So let's say you're using your faster flares, you dodge a missile, you dodge a second missile, and then boom, you get hit with the third because you timed it wrong or you ran out of flares or something. You don't immediately have to panic and go for a health point. You're now going to get 50% of that health back after that 4 seconds. And that is a huge help to an interceptor that's going to be exposed a lot of the time. I mean, Foxhounds are not flying down in the weeds, diving in and out of cover. They're way up high, exposed constantly. I mean, if you're flying them correctly. And a lot of times they're relying on those faster flares, but they can't, nobody ever 100% perfectly times every faster flare through their entire Foxhound career, right? Eventually you're going to mess up that timing, or worse, you're just going to either not have faster flares installed, or you're just going to be out of flares. And every now and then you're going to take a hit, and this is going to be the thing that keeps you alive when you need it to the most. And I got to use it. It was interesting to see, and now that I get to play with it in the actual game and not just the playtest, and I've fought more real people and less bots, it has come in handy on many occasions. That's why I've ranked it so highly for y'all here today. If you like the Foxhound, you must get this. Must. It is a capital M must for me. And in our number 1 spot, last on the list, but not least, because it's last because it's on top for me, it's the F-14 Tomcat with its Death from Above passive ability. A lot of people are probably scratching their heads thinking this ability is really not that great, but I really need to describe it to you. When you're flying at high altitudes, your heat seekers are increased, the range is increased by 100%. You're doubling the range on them, right? That's that's not insignificant, because what you're essentially doing is you're giving a plane that already has 4 fantastic long-range missiles, 4 fantastic medium-range missiles, right? You're going to be able... I use it all the time. I maxed it out immediately, and I use it all the time. And it gets me so many kills, because where before I was way up high and everything was out of range of my heat seekers, and I basically had to descend before I could even bring the heat seekers up. Now I get to use the heat seekers as I'm descending, but still quite up high, still out of the range of a lot of other people's heat seekers, able to eliminate them, or at least make them dive and dodge away from me, snag that reload point and head right back up to the sky, keep my momentum going, and switch back to the long range and start over again. Getting a 100% range boost means that this plane, as far as missiles go, it has, like, on average, if you average out its long range and medium range missiles, now medium range missiles I should say, the I think longest, like, average lock distance of any of the planes that have multiple missile types, right? Like, you could say the F-111 has longer, but it only has 6 missiles and they're all long range, right? This probably has the best overall range for its missile package. I haven't actually done the math, but I'm willing to bet if it's not number 1, it's probably no worse than number 2. It's amazing. It gets me so many kills, because I think there's still a lot of people who are not used to being able to be locked that far with heat seekers. We also know that the Rafale came out. The Rafale was the last black market. The Rafale has been the number 1 threat to interceptors for a while now because of its ability. Guess what? Its ability doesn't protect it from being locked from heat seekers, so now you can fire heat seekers right back at it. And I have fought many of a Rafale in this thing and been pretty successful. I'm not going to say 100%, but pretty successful. This is now your best defense against the Rafales. So you absolutely must get this if you like playing interceptors, and if you like playing your Tomcat, slap this bad boy on your Tomcat right now. Go get it right now. It's my number 1 recommendation. Now, I know I may not have mentioned your personal favorite passive in this video. I want to be clear. This top 10 list was not the only 10 I recommend. There are a lot of amazing passives that I did not mention in this list. The F-16 got a good one. Heck, the Su-27 actually got a really good one. The Super Hornet and the Basic Hornet both got pretty solid ones. So there's lots to explore there, but this is my top 10 list. Looking forward to hearing from you guys in the comments down below. Thank you for stopping by. And yeah, hit that subscribe so you don't miss any more of my Metalstorm content. Really helps the channel grow, and I appreciate it. This is Ghostberry TV saying fly fast, fly hard. I'll see you guys in the skies next time.